Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. It's cold here in Canada. I was going to do the news today instead of continuing, but I'm going to continue with the Matrix. I looked at the news, and the XL pipeline is going ahead because the bankers want it so. It doesn't matter all the protests that we've done. Pretty much all over the planet right now, the news sucks. In general, there's like this big sucking sound. So other people will tell you the news today, and you can tell me whether or not you hear the sucking sound as well. Okay, so you can go to my page, turtleislandnews.info. We will continue. We'll go back to reason 66. We had just gotten through some of the stargates, and I wanted to show you a couple images. We also have one of CERN, and these are stargates. On the left, a fresh jump gate was installed just outside of downtown Detroit without the least bit of curiosity. Of course, nobody's looking at Detroit right now other than the collapse of the people there. On the right is Stargate SG-1, equipped with Enochian writing. You should begin to see how fact and fantasy blur together in our lives. Everything we can think of does, in fact, already exist. We will talk a little of traversing space and time and how one can get in a position even to be able to accomplish such a feat, even if they're not really spiritually inclined. It is known that if you are carrying a low vibration, you cannot physically travel through higher vibratory fields with the body, obviously. But you can get to other planes, planets, various territories with capable ships. This is what is meant by the term external Merkaba. Now, there have been pictures, and I can't remember the name for it, but it's the one that shows energy fields around people. What we see when a person is sitting cross-legged specifically and meditating, some people can make an external, it almost looks like a ship, and that's the ship I'm talking about, that external Merkaba, and it's been photographed. So when the space race began, it was Russia and the US. So let's start looking at all of the Russian territory as the Great Bear, as under one very diversive monarchy, which people are expendable. Let us include Germany in this, although many think the Russians don't like the Germans. That is something created by their mutual government to formulate a plan of divide and conquer, which the elite do everywhere, with everyone. They are all still Aryans. Visi, Vidi, Veni. We'll just call it V for short. Reason 67. Russia, a long-standing occult and technology powerhouse, made it to the moon first with ease. Their space technology was far more superior than the US, as they already had made deals with the Gazians, believe it or not, people from Gaza. One would need to keep in mind, though, Russia had one of the first inner circles of elitists. True, they lost many people in depressions and civil wars, but their elite continued to increase their ranks. Again, the people are expendable to them. Lenin, Trotsky, Stalin, Gorbachev, Putin, and many others fed from Mother Russia like vampires at a blood bank. Not to mention that there's those that choose plasma as their diet. They get it from. No time to be hurting people in the night when you have to be in a Fortune 500 meeting in the morning, right? So they're feeding on something else and the energies thereof, which is plasma. That's what we release. We have to remember and keep looking at ourselves not in the slim-minded biological systems that we're told. Look at ourselves as a generator, a power generator, and our bodies work closer to that. A lot of times when you get sick, it's the electrons you're losing rather than an external thing. So look at the intake and output of your energy, and why are they keeping us in a state like this all the time? Fear and trauma, and that's why I didn't want to read the news. Something is feeding off that, and I think the majority of us feel it right now. So the race to the moon, as they say, was on. One should start thinking what was really happening on the moon, since we know a silly race isn't the reason for these two juggernauts to take off on a goal. Furthermore, trust they would use every channel they could to be sure they could make the trips with at least amount of error. So they would need star maps, statistics, temperatures, pressures, permissions, and various other guides. These things had to be in place before they left, so they had to have known these things. Many think we just logically came across this information through trial and error, which would create an erroneous time issues too. Enormous problems for explaining how fast we prepared for the missions. They had to know. So here is what I think really happened. In the spiritual circles of the Thule Society, which we have gone into, especially talking about Obama. And if you want to look up the article on that, again, you can find it on turtleislandnews.info and type in X-Men or Obama, and I'll tell you his link, and it's family on his mother's side. So, the Thule Society, Third Reich Nazi Germany, it was the greatest magicians of all time, had come together. Blavatsky was only one small component of this group, and men like Dietrich Eckart, who trained Hitler, they were far above her. Madame Blavatsky possessed an array of esoteric goodies she picked up from the black Tibetans during her trip to Shambhala, Agatha, if you like. And I do have some links on that as well. Now, in such a male-dominated society, Blavatsky entranced the mind of various key individuals with obviously not her physical charm. She wasn't a pretty woman per se, although I think she was kind of striking in a way. Intensity. Books writing her off as a quack are disinformation. She had a lot going on. She begins her book, Isis Unveiled, with a stout beginning, making her alliances with Bath, Cole, Isis known, and she starts off with that. Reason 68. Madame Blavatsky, mother of the Society of Thule, recruited the best magicians of the time. She made a contract with the Black Tibetans, known as the Green Gloves, found later scattered throughout the defeated Nazi Germany in houses where they had committed mass suicides. The Green Gloves were hyperdimensional Tibetan masters. They showed Blavatsky, Shambhala, Agatha, if you like, the inner world. She made pacts with them, and thus the Third Reich became the heavy instrument of the dark Tibetans, all aligned with the Gizians. This is how the swastika of the Black Sun got into circulation in Germany, because it wasn't there for. It's a Tibetan symbol. Although many of the societies all over the world, especially Indo-Asia, like this one, that's how they got it from then. Now, since once again we are in a binary world, we also have another sun directly opposite side of this sun. You have to be in special locations to see it. Some refer to it as the sun dog. The black sun is the opposite energy, a taker of life, for strength rather than a giver. And there's always a dichotomy in all things. Blavatsky had, now I've got a long list for you, Master L. Moria, Saint Germain, Kut Humi, Sanat Gemara, San Ada, Alistair Crowley, McGregor, Matter, Frater, Eckhart, Krishnamurti, Ledbetter, Besant, all immortal masters of astral travel and devout members of the Great White Brotherhood. And we can go into that another time if you like. Reason 69, and I do have pictures up there. Now the sundogs that we see, the circular images that we've seen in the sun, especially when it's really cold, it appears to me as if what we're really looking at here is an echo of something else. Now we can look at the other sun as a physical manifestation, or the black sun as being something that manifests in a spiritual realm, or realm we can't see. It could be right next to the sun, right behind it, from our view, of course, looking that way. That it always stays kind of like the moon on the other side. Now I have pictures of sundogs, and they're very beautiful. Now the rare, well, they used to be rare, now we see them all the time, images of the sundog. The view of our binary sun sometimes appears as 3 suns, and I have an image of that, and we've seen this a lot over the last couple of years. These government facilities, fully staffed, located far away from civilization on the poles. Why? Because we are bipolar, right? Which are the only places that you can see these phenomenon really clearly. Used to be anyway. We're starting to see them more and more now. And further south, these places don't get visitors often, right? And if they do, they're not really citizens. We know that in our South Pole, it's all scientists, and it's pretty much the same in the North Pole as well. So with this arsenal, Thule hatched a deeper plan in conjunction with the paranormal division of the Third Reich. Deros, their contact, who wrote the new Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Now realize the tablets that we're reading and the ones that I've gone over is most likely from these people rather than the original, although it's said that in Germany they still have this. I'm just not sure. Now he talked about dwelling in an underground city of Agatha that he got to, and we've talked about this before, through that red door in the pyramid. Apparently there's a way to open it, and we do have some pictures of that. That was pretty darn cool. I'll go through and put links up if you guys want to take a look later. So paranormal division was said to receive more funding than Hitler's total armament division due to its importance to the Reich. You're going to throw your money where you're really thinking, right? They lay buried with the task of gathering all the powerful shrines from around the world, which eventually ended up in the vaults of the British Museum. Long story short. Those who had done study on the holy artifacts will note that most of them are in the British Museum right now, not in their place of their origin. They will not allow it. And we've talked before, and I'm sure you've heard many people say, one of the background things that was going on during the Third Reich was them traveling to far reaches of the earth to collect materials, spiritual power. Now many of these objects do strange things when placed back in their corresponding ley lines. It is known that you can only get into the vaults of the British Museum if you are a member of the Golden Dawn. The Golden Dawn was a society set up by the Thule, in which Aleister Crowley was made head of. He had Frater Eckhart as his apprentice, basically. Crowley and Mathers are always in competition with one another. This is how Blavatsky penned them against each other to broaden their potential. These two adepts birthed the greatest horrors mankind has witnessed in this era. Although when I look at Crowley, I just think punk. I don't know why you'd be so scared of that skinny old man. Anyway, Crowley and Mathers were always in competition, as I said, and this is how she made them kind of play off each other and push each other to new heights. It's when magic becomes art, kind of thing. Now, many of their works were published by Blavatsky's Lucius Trust. Again, another obvious clue that she was part of the Luciferian agenda here. Now, I have some pictures that I think are pretty darn cool. Reason 70. The Holy Grail and the Spear of Longinus, which is said to pierce the side of Christ, were both seized by Hitler. These artifacts are charged with energy due to the belief of millions of people. I look at them as whether or not they're real doesn't matter, because people have thought they were real. They now have power. You know what I'm saying? Now, childhood stories of knights and princesses and dragons all serve to mold the mind for future indoctrination here. Most of these items had much different histories. The real Grail was not even a chalice. It was a succession of women carrying pure bloodlines, like Mary. Aleister was far more sadistic than MacGregor. He boasted one year that he had raped and killed over 103 boys. Now, it was he that was called the Beast and decided to incarnate. The Beast himself incarnated into this man because of prayers and rituals that he did. That did not go without the use of MacGregor, who had a gift for languages. MacGregor was set to the task of translating the Keys of Solomon from ancient Hebrew to Latin, then to English. This had never been done, and it was awaited by every magician of the time, especially since not many had access to the libraries in the British Museum. And as we had talked about before, John Dee was one of the people who in past times had stocked the British Museum with incredible esoteric works. So they have some of the best esoteric writings on the planet because, they stole them. Anyway, after translation, MacGregor's life was very short, and his scribe admits that he had been affected by some curse, which the book warns of, called the reflux current. Now, that sounds exactly like it is. What you put out, you get back. When you play with things you don't understand, as Stevie Wonder said, they always come back, and they were messing with a lot of things that they had no business messing with. But of course, arrogance and stupidity wins out with these people. Now, Dan Brown released his rendition of the Keys of Solomon that follow up to Angels and Demons. I was hoping that we'd be off this plane when it hits the media and people, in their curiosity, download the original book, which is available for free. I would suggest do not download that book and never read it. But if you want to, the Keys of Solomon can be found. Now, Dan Brown's Keys of Solomon was weak, to say the least, but not scary. Anyway, the beast incarnated in several such men, such as Jack Pearson, the creator of the nuclear bomb, who was also a Satanist, Albert Pike, 33-degree Mason, responsible for bringing new forms of corrupted brotherhood to the U.S., and of course Crowley, who set the Leviathan free. As they completed the circle of ceremony, all was silent. Everything that needed to be said was said. The order, perfect. The incense, in measure. The offerings received. Investments, they waited, and as time passed, they assumed the ritual to be barren. Then there was a flash of energy as a portal opened, a green trapezoid. Many collapsed in the sudden change in temperature as a deep cold permeated the room. They had done it. They had unleashed the ancient forbidden one. Now, my guess is it's the one that we had talked about earlier, that was trapped beneath the ocean. I think what they did was they released the Leviathan, who is Cthulhu. Cthulhu. Now, if you've read any of the masterworks of God, my mind's just MSing today. I can't even remember. But Cthulhu is mentioned for the first time in works around this time, and I'm going to think of that name later. If you can think of it, let me know. But Lovecraft, thank you. Lovecraft's work. So the Ka, right, and the Thul in the middle, this has to link together. Has to be. And the beast that was released, he, at least on some level, although from Lovecraft work and what I've looked at, he doesn't seem to be involved in any of these societies. Maybe he was just feeling what was going on. Anyway, Aleister Crowley's ritualistic experiments in Loch Ness apparently released it. Reason 71. Now, left to right, if you're looking at the picture, Pike, Parson, the fleshy host of the beast. Oh, Crowley, Pike, Parson. Parson was kind of cute. A little bit creepy. Not that that matters. Okay, moving on. So I take a moment to elaborate on this book, The Keys to Solomon, since I personally believe it will play a huge role in the reality shift of this dimension for a couple reasons. When Dan Brown released the Da Vinci Code, it was instantly a bestseller, meaning the media pushed it to the top fast. Because this was pushed, this was backed. Why? Well, he followed it up with Angels and Demons, and that solidified his career. And the Angels and Demons one, that's the one where we're talking about the Illuminati and CERN and the God particle and potential destruction of the world. So they had a perfect puppet icon here. Anything else he releases, people are going to just swarm to. They warmed everyone back up. Again, when they did the Da Vinci Code movie with everyone's favorite, Mr. Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks, this gave Dan even more prestige. Now, finished with the Angels and Demons movie, subtitle is Revenge of the Nephilim, which you can do your own book on all that that entails by now. So next, of course, Key of Solomon. The original book, The Key of Solomon, does not read like a story book. It is strictly talismans, prayers, repentances, evocations, illustrations of ceremonial magic. It is not wise to speak against anyone or anything you don't understand. This book, I understand very clearly as horrible danger, and leave it at that. So why, you may ask? I have been fascinated with Solomon. Since, the big three religions all claim him as their own, so I've always used him as a starting place. Many men of the cloth, of course, use him as an archetype because he was supposed to be wise. Solomon was all wisdom, most affectionately to all the ladies. But, a lot of people look at him in just one light. But he had sent one of his generals out to be killed because he wanted, wife number 995. When you look at the histories of these men, Moses did something similar. Solomon, you find their pasts are dirty and bloody, and they're not really nice guys. Now, something has been abolished after Solomon's time, but, it still allows, I guess, depraved preachers and pastors to have a little dream life in their head so they can read about all the sex, even though the majority of it isn't written by the same author. Anyway, I wanted to read everything Solomon wrote, especially since it says in Proverbs Solomon wrote over 5,000 books. I wondered why, if Solomon wrote 5,000 books, we only have 3 Psalms, Proverbs, and the Song of Solomon. One of which was not written by Solomon, but Lemuel, or Lemuel. And, if it ends with E-L, we're talking Nephilim again, son of Saturn, that kind of stuff. Some say Lemuel, Solomon, and Jedediah were all the same person. So you go from the search, you can come across a couple books, 2 more books anyway. Testaments of Solomon and the Key of Solomon, both are full of demons. In the Testament of Solomon, Solomon is actually integrating demons under the power of the One Ring, believe it or not, which he says was given to him by Yahweh, the 4-lettered God. The Key of Solomon had the names of demons inscribed in talismans that instructed you to make. So it was telling you what to make and what to do. Of course, I don't know the names of those demons. Failing to do a translation from Hebrew to English, and Dictionary of Angels, there is actually one out there, Gustav, believe it or not. I don't have that, and don't really care. But, it hasn't stopped me from exploring Solomon's wondrous talismans. Okay? I'm at least looking and wondering why this man of God supposedly is so demonic. Well, it seems that most men of God are. So anyway, after all this work of constructing a talisman for wisdom, this is what supposedly happens. First, I will note that some of the rituals in the book involved animal blood, which made me think a little deeper about Solomon. However, there are plenty that did not involve blood, since there is also a warning in the back of the book about using animal blood. So you have to come to terms with that someone had maliciously put spells there, since they were always towards the back of the book. And, this bloodletting thing, it's kind of with the knives and the forks and the tearing, the letting of blood, the spilling of our essence, whether it's human blood or animal blood, I've always thought is wrong. I do, especially for something like this. And I know that a lot of people who practice voodoo and veve do neither. They won't spill blood. What they offer is themselves. So, people have told me if they fell asleep with this talisman, or the book close to them. They felt that they were being transported to another world. Myself, I wouldn't do it, but from what I've heard, people realize that they're like watching a dream. They begin to be able to control it, so it's like starting a lucid phase. The phase, as I've called it before, that place where you just falling asleep, you can hear voices. That's the time when most people have visions all through the Bible, and it's around that time, just waking up or just falling asleep. So for some, supposedly some monstrous form appears, and they start doing battle, and they notice the seals from the keys to Solomon played a heavy role in trapping these demons once they had been subdued, stating any kind of blow from them would result in real physical damage in this world. Now again, from stories of other people, this wasn't me personally, but I'll just read. On one occasion, a demon got hold of me and slammed me before I could break the dream. When I woke up, I had pain and bruises all over me. After that, I learned not to get grabbed. All along, I was imagining that I was doing the Lord's work in the army now. The dreams could always be broke by holy names, in which I kept a complete arsenal in my memory. I also noted there were a lot of other people there, all involved in doing something in this strange world full of spirits. The demons got bigger and bigger, seemed to get better and better at dealing with them. And then the dictionary arrived. He was horrified to find the talismans contained names of demons. So, again, we're talking about some guy who decided to do this before he could and read this book, before he even knew who he was calling. I don't know what point you think that's fun, but it goes again to the stupidity. And of course, I would imagine that pastors would be somewhat bored with their lives. Maybe this is why. So these demons they were fighting, they had invoked, and if they lost, they would have done damage to their soul. So I tell you, no matter what master number, there's a certain time you were born, what your positive intent with is doing these kind of things, and I know a lot of people do them, your little prayers in your head, you're casting a spell there. I doubt that anyone should read this book and feel that they are enlightened by it. I don't think so. So basically what I'm saying by this work is I'm hoping it reaches people's hands in time so they can steer clear of it. Now, back to the plans of the Thule. With the talisman of Solomon in hand, they began to travel the opposite plane, which anyone trained in lucid sleep can do. In this plane, you can go to various places, and the main feature is you can call forth beings and they appear. Apparently, they called forth the Enochian enchained sons of Cain, and they appeared to them. They consulted with them about a world domination and how it could be brought about. They gave them the first a special language of power to use amongst themselves in conjunction with vril power. They gave them a strategy for using young minds as precursors in university or universe cities. Universities, that's what it means. The idea was to use the brightest minds to develop devices to create external Merkaba. This vehicle could be used to travel dimensions, a real time machine. The alchemist became the physicist in that way. Now, following this, in the scene world, we find Germany at the head of jet propulsion technology, suddenly, out of nowhere. The Allies and the Axis were in bed together behind the scenes, but in plain view they pretended to be enemies. So, we have the Black Sun cults, the White Brotherhoods, Luciferian, Saturnian, Atlanteans, and Venusians all had a mutual cause, and that was galactic domination. Not just for the world, but for everything, or all the satellites would not be armed with radar and LIDAR and weapons. They're up there for a reason, and I don't think it's because they're protecting us. I think they're fighting something. Now, of course, declassified CIA Project Paperclip indicates that the transferring of German scientists during the stage fall of the Third Reich soil to work for NASA, which is still Nazi. Basically, the destroyed Germany set up the biggest human sacrifice known to date, the Holocaust, to feed the Valkyries and the other demonic forces they were working with. They continued to plan. Few would even venture to believe in the bloodshed that went across Europe and the starvation and the horror that continued for years and years after. They did such a horrible thing. There was no reason for Germany to get carpet bombed when they did that. So it's been a big bloodletting ceremony that's been ongoing since World War II. It's never stopped, as far as I'm concerned. It has never stopped, this war, this bloodletting. So again, basically, they destroyed Germany, set up the biggest human sacrifice. It's a plan few could even venture to believe in. Reason 72. Several Nazi scientists were imported into the U.S., and they were pretty much divvied up around the world. Canada, for a little while, got the Japanese horror story. One of the men who was doing the experiments on the Chinese people and American captured soldiers, the soldiers that were captured all around. Canada got him for a while, and then I think he worked back and forth in the United States. So they were all imported. So not just the Germans, the Japanese too, who were monsters to the Chinese, monstrous. And that's a story you don't hear too often. So they were brought under a new banner, Nazi NASA umbrella, to help with rocket propulsion. These rockets were not used to power space shuttles. They were used to kill innocent people by the millions. And then, sorry guys, I have a scary picture of what Crowley drew as his demon. Now, the dimensional being known as Awas, the Lamb, channeled through Crowley, gave him a coded language of power to use against the psychonauts, which they had become known. And he looks like kind of a big-headed gray alien if you're listening later on. Now, Awas is also the sign of a single bolt of in ancient Germanic, which can be found in letters and numbers. Awas was the classic gray alien, sent by the dark side as a extraterrestrial imposter, I would think. They are more similar to golems, two-part beings created by sorcerers that just follow orders. The idea was to rearrange occurrences in history to erect new saviors. We call this Project Eighth Ray, which I will get into more later. It takes time to be shown by higher beings to believe. My word can only stand for the guided, who know of some things I have already spoken of, and thus will venture to trust me further, as I will show how it all fits together. So, reason, not belief, is needed here. In many ancient paintings, it shows what appears to be spaceships in the atmosphere during the crucifixion of Jesus. These ships bear the 8-pointed star of Elu, which we've talked about before. These Elu are very advanced, which is why they controlled the world. Jesus was a Nazarite. Nazar. Is that not close? A special sect whose Samson and almost all prophets of the Bible belong to. This is the rites of Nazar, who all leave this world at 33 years old. Does it not sound like Nazi? N-A-Z-A. Part of the oath of the Nazarite is to never cut your hair. Samson and Jesus both left the world at age 33, depending on who you believe. When the German scientists came to the U.S., they joined up with NASA. The S, of course, is a backwards Z. They formed the new Nazi Party, who now have many angles they work because they have unlocked the ability of hyperdimensional travel. Always remember that technology they show us is the old stuff. Look at how long the military was using microwave technology before they decided to let everyone else give it a spin, introducing the microwave into the home. When the microwave hit the market, people were amazed. Just look at how fast it heats things up. At a price, of course, radiation, which will always cause some form of cancer or tumor, most times undetected. And these technologies that they're using, know that not one of us is clear of it. The last 60 years, the pollution on this planet, not just earthbound, but because of all of the bombs that they've set off, and the ELFs, and the constant bombardment of rays, we all have a little bit of osteoporosis. The reason we're not as strong as our parents is this last 60 years has totally devastated mankind. There is no place on the planet free of this. And there's places like Australia, who has the big hole over it right now, who's getting bombarded with all this radiation, as well as all the other things going on. So know that this battle we fight with the things that we can't see is real, and it's constant, and it cannot be just a flesh and blood fight we're fighting, or all of these things wouldn't be happening. Our planet is being devastated by these things. Devastated is why people are having problems sleeping, why memory is so hard, why people are feeling aches and pains. Not just food alone, although the food is bad, and many people blame it just on the wheat. But even the food isn't the problem of the Gwen towers and the smart meters. And the smart meters, by the way, are actually in your coffee maker. So all of these things have been heavily used against us. And the radiation, again, radiation, which will cause some form of cancer or tumor, at most times goes undetected because we are not using our bodies in the way we're supposed to. If we could do that, we might have a chance. For instance, there's almost no modern people that have experienced a winter. Now you'll be thinking, Tracy, what are you talking about? It's cold outside. Yeah, but you have all your clothes on. You have all your clothes on. You can come into the house. So, a lot of people have little heated car seats now. Come into the house, we turn on the heat, we put on some more clothes. We are no longer adapted to live on this planet. I don't know how else to say it. Some of the strongest people in the world, they live on one of the highest places by the Himalayas. These people eat very little, and you don't see a vegetable up there. So, our diet is completely a lie too. I don't see any vegetables growing outside, so I probably shouldn't be eating them. But as I was saying, these people are very physically strong. They can carry 100-pound packs and still climatize in a couple days to the higher camps in the Himalayas. Could we? Absolutely not. We're weakened. And until we start working on our bodies, get used to the cold, and I think it's going to take that. I don't think we have a defense. There is no magic pill. There will be no magic words that we could say to make us strong enough to face this incredible danger, and I don't know what else we can do other than find ways to help each other. Now, in the second hour, if you'd like to call in, you're more than welcome, and I would hope that you'd come and do that. You can join me on Skype. Just add wolfspirit.switchboard, and you're more than welcome. Anyway, I'll continue on. Now, if you're looking at the pictures, you will see, and we've put up many pictures of these. It looks like little airplanes, because why would they put someone sitting in a star? If it was just a star, why would there be someone sitting in it? You know what I mean? So reason 74. We will see a lot more about Project 8th Ray and their hyperdimensional capabilities. This means large pro-peace movements, peace, which means division, right? Similar to times of the hippies, may have been removed from our memories. There may have been a lot more uprising in history than currently remembered, especially the Great Battle. I don't think I'm the first person to talk about this. I'm aware it is only exceptional people who really discover the truth to the Matrix or start talking about it. But we have to look at this possibility as well. How much of our history is true? We know that they lie, even those silly things that we know they lie about. They lie. So, what if part of the lie is we're remembering something that did happen, or it's been changed? Something to look at. They do a little work and then, they're just removed as if they never existed in this world. Could that be possible? A slight little alter, and we perceive things differently in the future, which is shown on the movie I Am Legend, where the lady cannot remember Bob Marley in her memory, just Damon Marley. The TV series Heroes does an exceptional job at showing the causes and effects of altering small things in the past. These subtle hints are often being dropped by the elite because I guess it makes them laugh on the other end when those who know what happened are watching. And this occurs a lot in Hollywood movies. I've got a little picture up. It says, hypnotize with any TV set the first evening or money back. Television repairman's accidental discovery makes anyone a hypnotist right away. A secret method uses the original TV set. No electronic knowledge is needed. No prior hypnotic training is needed. Send no money. Just name and address. Pay the postman $2.98 plus COD postage, or send $3 with order and we pay the postage. This is an actual ad guys. Reason 75. The most common person knows that the TV is a mind control tool by various degrees. However, that does not stop them from watching it. This is part of the mind control. The mind control is only suggestive. However, it is done more from a technology standpoint, I guess. Now, the new digital network that is reached completion in the U.S. is a different kind of monster, and a totally different programming will start with this. This is incredible, these technologies that are just coming out. And we'll talk more about that when we come back. I think we're just about ready for break. I'm certainly ready for more coffee. How about you guys? I hope you're not finding it too boring, this stuff. I like it. So other than that, why don't we play a little song before the break? Why don't we do that? Play a little song, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Waving to the girls, sitting and listen on Wolfspirit Radio. We're joined today by Wolfspirit Radio, turtleislandnews.info, Freedom Slips, Revolution Radio, and later today will be played on thesechangingtimes.ning. Thank you, everybody who's listening. My computer does not like these chat room, so I won't be in there. So let's continue on. If there's no questions or anything, I hope you guys are all enjoying this. Now, think about some of the things that we have here right now, like Sony, an HD and a high definition in our DNA. Is that not weird? Reason 76, and that's not up yet. I'm going to have that up later today for you guys. Now, Sony, which is an anagram for Scion, since in English the Y is substituted for an I. Of course, it makes sense coming from the company that has introduced the world to some of the greatest technology gadgets of all times, as they are already letting it become known that they will be adjusting the viewer's DNA with the new digital upgrades. When this begins, there will be little more one can do to explain anything to the masses. They will simply not be interested. They will be dialed out, controlled, embedded in layers and layers of digitized mental programming. That's what it was for, and we've gone in length on specifically why. Why would they spend millions of dollars so you could have a better TV show? Now, reason 77. Mushrooms, along with hallucinogens like ayahuasca, are gateway drugs, meaning, and this is the reason things are called gateway, so listen, meaning that once taken, they open the gateway of their soul, which normally is kept closed by default. An experienced person can suffer from several types of possessions when taking these substances if they are not trained in the knowledge of outer body experience, OBEs. As you see, Dr. Mario, well, you don't see him right now, you'll see him later. Dr. Mario lured millions of children into taking mushrooms in his little game. Now, as I've said before, ayahuasca and all of these magical herbs, there are most likely, I would say, the same amount of people on the planet. There are probably that many magical plants. People take them for the buzz, of course, with no training, with no caring about the plant. When you do these things that you don't understand without preparation or respect for this living being that you are ingesting, you will get payback. It will come. I don't know how to say it clear. When you play with things you don't understand, you will suffer. And a lot of people who went down and took ayahuasca slip into insanity. Or they do the little 5-minute experience and say, "Oh man, that was so cool." When people who have trained for their whole lives, who have lived by these plants for generations, they let one person take it, and he, the shaman, has the experience for the whole village. Or when they take it, it's in a deeply spiritual movement. When people just do things for fun, or the thrill of it, and think that, I don't know, something, they're going to be safe because they've done a lot of drugs. Gateway drugs. You're opening gateways. Know what you're doing. Anyway, it is said that the true purpose of a galactic lineup is to allow ascending and descending to take place. Many will be coming and going from this dimension once this happens. Those who hold the power of creating realities, which can be done in the mind, can transfer minds, souls, to another reality on a mental bridge. Know a person who went to India and then Peru and testified of yogis being able to take untrained students into their minds. When the student was transferred into another world in which the yogi was ruler, Madame Blavatsky did say that the lower dimensions were ruled by Buddhas on the Deva, I think, mechanic planes. I hear your dogs, Dave. Anyway, all of these planes above us, thus placing us in one of the onion realms of realities, layers, of course. Layers of what we call planes, expanses, dimensions, realms, if you like, whatever word, floats your boat. Since this is the case, it would be wise for one to seek how to escape this whole matter altogether, or at least how to go in a positive direction versus a negative. Know what you're doing. If you cannot make a decision, one will be made for you, as you see. Now, reason number 78, Hollywood lets us know one more time that there are snakes on the earth plane. Okay? Snakes on the earth plane. The symbolism here is key. As you can see, the caduceus is being implicated in as one of these culprits. So snakes on a plane, and it still reminds me of, the medical symbol, which is still the serpent staff. Snakes on a plane coming near a theater near you. Actually, I really like that movie, but I didn't look at it in this way. Now, I know for a fact that we have now descended, I think, 2 dimensions already. What Leonardo da Vinci was trying to explain in his paintings, which are full of geometric and sacred geometry, is a human body has a 5-fold nature, 5 senses, 5 fingers on each hand, etc. There is an actual seam running down the middle of our body, showing that we are 2 5-fold sides put together. What is happening now is most people are operating on 3 senses versus the 5 senses they think they have. How this occurs is many people think they see, but in fact they are not seeing true reality, just illusion, some taste, but they need seasoning to even enjoy the food, not to mention the kind of food they eat for nourishment. Some would rather talk, so they don't hear very well. Others touch, but they don't feel the energy of what they are examining. For each person, the mixing and the matching is different, of course. The drawback is, if we don't operate on all 5 senses, not only can we not unlock the 6th sense, which is how you feel when all 5 senses are being used at their height simultaneously. In addition, it takes the 6 senses to unlock the 7th, and so on. As explained before, the perception of various dimensions is within the amount of senses you have. Good example of this is when the 3rd eye is opened, you are immediately perceptive of another dimension right at that point. Now, to clarify the statement of many languages being backwards, I will put forth just a few facts here. Fact 1 is that all holy languages, as they were called, like Arabic, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Sanskrit, are written from left to right. English, Latin, French, Spanish are known as Latin Vulgate. All are written in the opposite direction, from left to right. The reason for this is the direction you read and write plays a heavy role in the direction your mind is moving, since the mind turns more of a wheel in thought kind of thing. Also, this affects what side of the brain you predominantly use. Many of the words in these languages, especially the Vulgates, when looked at backwards or sounded out, the vibration, when taken literally, gives you the actual origin of the word and its manifold involvement in the erosion of the intelligence of the human race. Amor, for example. Amor is a word for love in Spanish. Amor is the son of Venus. When you look at it backwards, it spells Roma, which is, of course, Rome. This proves that when you turn a word backwards, you don't just get the opposite meaning, you get more of a meaning. That is another valuable key to learn here. Since letters are truly numbers, let's say ABC is 1, 2, 3. No matter how you move the words around it, it will still equal 6. In English, love comes from Jove, wife of Jupiter. We can conclude a J is also an L, just facing the opposite direction. That's why so many things are just, they're simple wordplay, as we've said before. Now, at times, what will be uncovered will be shocking and hard to believe, but if you remain patient and strengthen your courage, you will see that this will become the key to your emancipation and self-empowerment. The system in place just holds us to the lowest degree, and once you're on the trail, you will find multiple connections. The art of magic itself involves an accurate system that cannot be altered too much, or else it will have no effect at all. Much power lies in repetition. This is why so many words are spelled almost exactly the same, but each is given a different meaning to increase its use. For this reason, it is easier to spot them once you know the basic parameters. Does this make sense? Sense? Sins? If you may think for one moment that your mind is not directional, consider for a moment that your eyes see everything upside down first. They must flip the image you see before it sends it to your brain. All of which happens so fast you never notice. Our eyes are a miraculous thing. Doctors are now finding that there is a direct link to eyesight and health. People age faster when their eyes become weak. Why have they not told us this? Why isn't every doctor saying, strengthen your eyes? Do eye exercises. They're actually simple, fairly simple to do. You just look up and to the right and hold it there, then up to the left, and then down, both sides. Your eyes muscles are actually strengthened like that. Why are we not told? Well, I told you. Our health is linked to our eyes. That is taking in energy, making a picture, wrapping it around, changing it. We are a biological system that is mostly electrical. Still with me? Okay, so we flip the image, you see, before it sends it to your brain. All of this happens so fast you don't notice. As we may at times forget, we are actually standing on a globe that rotates and our feet are stuck to it by gravity, lest we just float off in space. So in fact, we are at times upside down. We are. If we are only using the two eyes to gauge, to authenticate, I guess, higher life forms, we will remain disappointed, I think, at our discoveries. So one must use other abilities in conjunction with their eyes. We must work as a system. Such as the third eye or the pineal gland, and most have calcified pineal glands due to fluoride intake, yes. Some of the meat that has been tortured, and can you imagine what's happening when you ingest another animal's energy, because that's what you're doing. We don't really need food, we need energy. And you are taking in the energy of an animal that has been tortured. What does that do to you? The processed starches, the artificial sugars, most of the crap Walmart food that is all prepackaged mystery food. Now, to reverse this, there are many things out there that will help. Good amounts of alfalfa, parsley, mugwort, gotu-kola is a very effective plant to clean out your pineal gland, as are the many, many, many others, of course. So we'll talk about that too. I think we did a whole show on pineal gland. But alfalfa, parsley, still pretty easy to find. Now again, I would say we have to return to what is the climate you're in now. Where do you live now? Because it only takes 2 to 3 weeks for your body to change into the climate you're in. So it doesn't really matter so much where you're born, it's where you are now. So, like we've talked about before, 21 days to change a habit. That's all it takes, 21 days. You just have to, stay on the path while you're doing this. I'll grab some coffee. Stay on the path, be strong. Get as much light as you possibly can. And if you happen to live in a cold spot, open the windows. Turn off the heater. Allow your body to do what it's supposed to do. They're using so many things that are biologically necessary in our life right now against us. For instance, January, you always see more commercials for join a gym, take off the fat. Well, what if I told you? The majority of the evidence that's out now says if you live in a cold climate, you don't need to go to the gym. We are biologically set, like all other mammals are, that when the temperature starts getting cold, we burn fat. And when there isn't as much sun directly on us, we need sleep. Polar bears come out of their dens, although they don't hibernate per se, but when it's really cold they rest. They come out, they eat only fish and seal, of course, but they come out at the end of their long sleep muscled. Now, do you think they got up and worked out? No, they didn't. They sleep most of the winter. Their metabolism slows down completely, and we are told the exact opposite, that our bodies have to speed up. Our metabolism needs to speed up. Well, I'm telling you, it does not. It absolutely does not. It needs to slow down. So if it's winter there and you're tired, go to bed. When you go to bed properly and you've turned off all your lights, because we don't get proper lighting now too, our cycles are completely out of whack. Not just the esoteric stuff I've been talking about, but these things are done for a reason. The time clock, all the different time zones, they're just made to knock us off balance completely. We should be getting up when the light starts coming up. It should be setting off signals in our heads that it's time to wake up. If we put on the TV and it's dark and we're listening to the internet or watching a screen, we are, again, messing with our internal cycles. We are still mammals, believe it or not, and no different than any other mammal. We need dark at certain times. We need the Wi-Fi turned off. We need a quiet room. So I would suggest, if you have lights on at night, you should turn them off. Turn them off and try to shield from the glare of even your computer at night. What these things do is it tells your body you're trying to wake up, that the climate's changed. So if you get up at 3 o'clock and you immediately turn on all the lights, it's the worst possible thing you can do. This will get you to gain weight. It will start making you sick. I think a lot of diabetes has to do with these things as well. Now, if you live in a warmer climate, of course, all the fruits that are growing all year long, eat them. But I would suggest that if you live in a place that does not grow fruit and vegetables, you probably should not be eating them. The climate knows where you are. The planet knows where you are, and it's giving you what you need by what's around you. Okay, so the eyes are easy to be tricked, and we've tricked them with lights. Lights alone has screwed up the entire planet. Anyone who has lights on in the middle of the night, electricity, these waves have completely made us a different animal. We are not the same as before lights. In fact, many places in our matrix have optical illusions over them, so you cannot perceive what is really there with the naked eye. As seen in folklore, they often spoke of hidden doorways to other dimensions. Now, you can't see this image, but later you'll see these two spiral interladen wheels, basically. What you need to do is focus your eye on the dot in the center of the illustration. If you move your head back and forth, all of a sudden this thing that was standing still looks like there's wheels spinning. Your perception can be easily manipulated. Isn't long story short. By those who understand the complete body down to the atomic and cellular levels. And they are tricking us with just about everything. Now, reason 80. When looking at gates, like the one pictured in Reason 66 in Detroit, you will never see anything enter it or exit it. They will remain on a frequency none can detect. by the eye. And this is not very hard to do. They've mastered invisibility because of the inaccuracy of two eyes, if that's all you're using to see. The third eye, however, cannot be so easily fooled. Now again, I'll have another picture up and you'll have to just go through, and we're at reason 80 if you're listening later. There's a series of dots and a cross basically in the middle. You notice the dots start appearing together. If you focus on the cross in the center of the illustration, the dots disappear altogether. If you focus longer, they reappear and change color to green. How is this possible? I don't know. But, perception, again, everything. So we're easily fooled. There are a few things that should become obvious, I think, to the individual about many of the gods. There are worlds. Their worlds have run far longer than most can fathom, especially since we have a hard time remembering what we did even last Saturday. I call this the war against the machines. I would, except it didn't involve the Terminator here. It was the terminal they used, though. The computer has a feature of huge memory bank. Seen computer drives in the terabytes, which is at least 999 gigabytes. The Cray 6, a government computer, has its memory banks. The dial tone of every phone in the United States. It's funny that to our ears, when you pick up the phone, the tone sounds the same as any other phone, but in fact, every single phone has a different tone. Did you know that? Part of what is happening to our short-term memory, which is very important because it makes the transfer to our long-term memory, is we store on computers everything we should remember on our own. Thus the memory wilts down because it is no longer being used. Even numbers of our close family members are stored in the phone memory banks, not on our personal memory. Now people change numbers so much, it becomes no use in remembering their number. I understand that. But when we stop logging numbers and watching them, an entire world of fact is closed to us. If you could watch the random numbers of the day, every step would be guided in perfection. The numbers are what we call the master language. There will always be a 1, 2, 3 in every culture. Thus it's the strongest language. As you see in the Kabbalah and the Ajad, there exist numerical magical cubes, boxes that equal the same amount no matter which way you add them. In short, we lost the battle of machines on various levels. This is becoming visible, I think. And this is just one. We must regain the desire to pay attention to letters and numbers and names. This is the actual exposed program to the Matrix. You can read it. If you can, decode it. And we're being so... It's not even just dumbed down. It's like they're getting us to lose everything that makes us human. Are we still human? We don't sleep properly. We don't look at the sun at the right time. We have lights going on all the time, sounds going on all the time. We eat wrong for our climate. We dress too much. Did we lose ourselves when we started wearing clothes. Because we are no longer able, the majority of us are no longer able to handle the weather. Seriously. How are we handling the weather if we've got heat on? Sure, we always had fires. But, winter time, we didn't go out at night because it's dangerous out in the dark. Maybe when we came in the house, started with candles, started doing things completely contrary to our basic existence, snacking, eating too much, needing something constantly. Maybe that was the beginning of our fall. Maybe we fell. Reason 80, the war against the machines took place in the office building, not on the battlefield. The real Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, busy at work dismantling the future as he did. Sources say the elite are considering making him the next president. And I've heard this a lot. Haven't you guys? I don't know if that's still the plan, but who can guess the plan from day to day? For the first time that I have seen directly, we can reveal what is at the end of our fourth dimension. You can see this as a briefing, I guess, since we will reach a point where we must guide our spirit through the planes. Those that have become masters of astral travel report that when encountering and passing the fourth dimension, they knew not to stop. They reported heavy reptilian ET activity of a weird, unwelcoming, oh my God, let's run kind. Now upon reaching the end of the fourth region, they appeared to see something like an artificial intelligence computer barrier, something like a giant computer that is alive and made a noise as if some type of giant engine was running it. Some would wave this off as absurd, right? Of course, I would too, if I didn't have something more to add about another strange sync with this machine. First off, we will note on the last Matrix movie, it came down to Neo talking to an AI, artificial intelligence, and making some sort of deal in order to free the people from the Matrix. But that's just a movie, right? AI is actually an important city, believe it or not, in ancient Sumeria. This word is pronounced I, like the all-seeing eye. The Atlanteans were also known as the Borgians, which is where the French term bourgeoisie comes from. They claim to be the descendants of ancient Atlanteans. A Borg is known to be part human, part organic technology. If you have read any Atlantis lore or lure, you will see their affinity for first crystals and then technology. I also report, for those who had made it to point of the gate, if they could go that far, they had no trouble getting through. Perhaps it was just open. I wonder if Bill knows about the gate. Oops. Ops. 81. This, what would we even call it? Synchromatic, maybe. Tarot card on the right, and I'm sorry I don't have it ready for you, but it's pretty interesting. I'll put it up later. On the money, featuring as number 17 Borg. 17 is a favorite Masonic number, since 1 plus 7 equals 8, and 8 is a trap. As you see, they deal with the double cube, and the cube is evil, just like they showed you in the Hellraiser movies, which I liked. If you want something really scary, that's something, well, we probably shouldn't be watching scary stuff anyway. But the Masons, sent to the U.S., were charged with building the new Atlantis. Atlanta, Georgia, has a lodge next to just about every church, if not the church itself. If you have a great Athena, Athens, right up the road, not to mention the Georgia Guidestones, Dr. Melici's York Pyramids in Eatonton, Georgia, the Olympic Array of 1996, and many more things linking Atlanta as a key location for numerous plans brought forth throughout history to arrive at where we are now. The tree in the middle of the garden with apples is wholly an Atlantean concept, just like the flood was. The truth is the masses have been worshipping the same pagan gods throughout history, clueless to the outcome of such carelessness for the soul. When we fail to investigate the eternal destination of our spirit, it is most certain that it will end up in the hands of the vile. They want it. They know its value. This afterlife is serious. It is this world that is the illusion. And yet, you even see in this world the innocent pay penalties in which we would think of as unfair. This is not about fair and unfair. It is about you taking the training wheels off and becoming firm about what it is, your greatest possession, rather than trusting it to the hands of some money-loving guru, as they lead you astray, as many have done. Did I mention guru means Jupiter, Ammon, in Hindi? Do you want to worship Jupiter? Ideas of saving the whole world are obsolete. People are at various stages of their own personal growth. Thus, in the beginning, you may have to be a little selfish with your time and attention as you gain new balance. Many are still earthbound, and ideas of even leaving their hometown may seem like too long a journey. They cannot be forced to grasp concepts of space and time. This book that I'm reading you is written for those who feel their future is in the cosmos, and in fact many things that will not make sense. If a person thinks only of here and what we see, looking to remain on the earth as it is, I don't specifically want to fly off the planet, but I don't want our beautiful planet and our beautiful selves being like this. And I wonder, seriously, if all of the electromagnetic pollution has just gotten too much. Everything has it. There is no reason for one person to accept the truth of the future if they want to remain in this state. Thus, they will believe nothing that you tell them or I tell them. People see what they want to see. People look at something else and still mostly they're seeing themselves or their image reflected back to them. We're still being told that there's greater races out there, and there may be. I don't think we're the lowly things that we're being told, that we're helpless. We've talked about this. We get to the point we feel helpless. It's, we curl up in a little ball and rock back and forth. That's not going to help. These people are making plans for several years in advance, as if they know the hour we would release our souls. Many make plans in vain. Their highest goals are written with limitations and limits. They've forgotten that we are not the body. Although it is the one thing that we were given to take care of, we have one thing that's truly ours, and we are doing all the wrong things with it. All of them. What if I told you something that your doctor should have told us, our doctor should have told us? What if I told you that we have a what would we call it, muscle in our head? It's why babies can be born in tubs and swim. They don't drown. If you filled up your sink with cold water, in most places the cold water from the tap is around 50, 55 Fahrenheit. So it's chilly, but it's not horrible. If you stick your head, your face, basically, it doesn't have to be your whole head, your face in there, just till your next breath, or, doesn't take long, you will change your body's rhythm. You will start embracing the cold. Later, you can go in a cold shower if you want. You do this for 3 weeks, you'll be able to do it. It may take you a couple times. You'll be able to do it. You do that, and your body will physically start changing. Do that. See if it works. See if in 3 weeks, just sticking your head in some water changes you. Put some ice packs. Get them. Put them in your hand. That lowers your core body temperature. You may not even have to stay in the shower. You do this every day for 3 weeks, your body will change. You will gain muscle. You will lose fat just by doing that. You can change your diet if you want to be radical and have it happen faster. We're not taught these things because they're telling us, to eat a lot of carbs, and unless you're in a place that grows carbs year-round, you shouldn't be eating them. Now again, they give us this one-size-fits-all thing for the world, and we can't. We are not all the same being. We could be part of a whole, but we are different parts of that whole. We are connected. We are sitting in this cyberspace, all of us together, as separate things, but probably part of the same great all, if you like. If we don't have sun coming in on our eyes, none of our body's rhythms will work. We won't sleep well. We won't dissolve fat. We are made purposely that in the winter our fat should just go away. We will even lose fat cells, which we're told, we have to keep them in case there's a famine. Our bodies are made perfectly. It knows exactly what to do. And in the winter, you shouldn't be going to the gym. I know, mind-blowing, right? No, you should be getting cold if you can. Use the cold to help yourself. Easy. Easy peasy. There must be a reason to keep looking. There must be a reason to keep going on. There are plans being made, and we are riddled with things that make it almost impossible. And we look at ourselves and we see our body corrupted. If we can't take care of this one thing, and I think it's the thing we should work on, believe it or not. Some people will say it's just the mind, it's just the spirit, this body means nothing. Well, I would like to disagree. This body means something. We were given it. It's for a reason. It works perfectly if you just give it what it needs. Many people have confused spirituality with monetary prosperity, in which the two are almost complete opposites. Does God want you to be rich? Yes, says some mega churches. Others call it heresy. Debate over the new gospel of wealth, but, look at the Vatican. Consumption is the enemy of compassion. If you notice, the main trait we have as humans is reason. This keeps us from acting like insects and animals, being at times purely instinctual. When one charges money to see a seeker, knowledge they are in gross error, and the truth will elude them. Even if it is in plain view, many will not believe this. Their deeds are written thus. We will declare them back faithfully to them on the day in which it will be too late to balance. That day comes for everyone at some point, It is about the only guarantee in this world that payback is a vache. Sorry, I use the French word. I can't say that. I don't think it's one of the words I can't say today. But you always pay. Payday comes for everyone. We shall put a barrier betwixt them, so none may cross. On one side they will see what they fortified, on the other they will see what they escaped. Contemplate this in wisdom. Real gurus travel the Buddhic and the Devachanic plains that many have already inhabit. They are doing the bidding for the beings who control the regions. They are promised to serve them during their initiations. I'm speaking here of the initiated yogi, guru, lama, etc. As far as the pastors, the great Holy Ghost suffices for them, and the witches have their 13 covens. Paranormal feelings, experiences do not denote that you have reached some pure path, and one should be careful and carefully access all of what is happening in the surroundings when they begin to occur, especially in the future. There will be these times that you will see things like this. And I wonder, with all the goings on, if we're not being activated, all of us. I guess we should just be careful of what is happening, to be aware of our surroundings. If something is going to activate, will we see it? I think so. Now, due to the level of mind control and the suppression of thought, many individuals never get the opportunity to truly ponder this stuff, in fear that they may be struck by lightning for offending the gods. Thus, they become stuck on the step of what appears to be an enormous religious pyramid, fully animated. I've wanted at times to feel the charge of lightning, so I will present the facts, and you can just be the judge to take it in or toss it away as you need to. It becomes pretty obvious to me, though, that if gods could do something about this world to make it better, they would have done it a long time ago, before many innocent humans and animals have perished, many of whom are now extinct completely. I feel I'm in a position to make these statements because I've traveled many paths to their completion, somehow escaping irreversible initiations. As many great men and women have put it, if you need to be initiated into it, it cannot be wholesome for the people. Period. Was not our first command to give freely of what is best for us to a neighbor who are like mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers to us? So why keep a secret from them? Indeed, these men and women have something that needs to be kept secret due to its abhorrent nature. It's gotta be wrong, or it wouldn't be secret. You keep something hidden on the steps of Freemasonry and all of these 10,000 different booga booga thingies out there. I don't want their little nasty secrets. I don't. They can keep their little nasty secrets. I don't want to be initiated into their little covens. No initiation. My body knows what it needs to do. And so does the great all. If they want me, if he wants me, he will come get me. Or she, or it, or whatever. Now, reason 83. There is an inclination within us all, no matter how minute, that wishes to be part of something mystical and elite. These leechers of life feed upon that craving that exists within us as a residue of who we really are, except they distort the image to their favor. A midget standing on a giant's shoulder can see much further than the giant. However, the giant falls or fails to see the midget below him, the midget will be trampled beneath his feet. Joining secret societies always gets one trampled. The moment you relinquish yourself to such a hierarchy, you admitting that you are in a lowly state. This places the strong above the weak, and this is how they operate. Most never obtained what they were looking for, and even forgot what they were looking for to begin with. Traps. And we are so tricked by these things. Reason 84. Their oath is to keep silent. It always is. The ritual keeps the oath in place. As you see above the pyramid, always full of spiritual leaders and bankers and businessmen and various others in key places. Joining would place a person on the bottom of the pyramid to be crushed. Their capstone has yet to descend, meaning that they are waiting on their God to return to this realm. I had heard this would happen in 2010, 2012. Some say nothing happened for them last year or the year before. I have seen a definite increase in filth. I have. You guys? Like, the filth is becoming incredible right now. Bloodthirstiness. People just vomiting up filth from their mouths. And the dark, nasty turn even television programming has taken now that everyone has gone DNA. What's that doing? It is sad. But in the end, I found most religious dogmas, or should I say mass dogs, along with their characters, to be inexplicably linked to a common cause of keeping us ignorant and under the yoke, or the thumb, or the boot. At great lengths, I wanted to believe the world was perfect because God was perfect, and this was the highest form of teaching. True knowledge rebutted and said that we are the active creation in which the Creator passes knowledge through. If we can no longer see what is in plain view and use our senses to react against it, if it be judged harmful to innocence, then we have forfeited our gift, which is the right of good choice. The Creator, if there is one, is perfect, does not need anything from us. However, the creation is started from a state that is bad. I will take you further on this tomorrow. Please join us from 12 to 2 Eastern Standard Time for Trace Elements, live on Wolfspirit Radio and TurtleIslandNews.info.